Hello, I am going to be talking about refocusing. Hello to all the good people. I'm Dr. Romella Janene, and this is Romella Janene Global, where I now talk about well-being and all things that impact our daily lives. Okay? In the past, I said that this channel was about, AI, work, the economy, and all of those sorts of related topics. But recently I'm feeling called to decentralize the AI. Not because I won't be talking about AI, but I think AI is no longer really a central topic. I honestly don't think so. I think it's more about how are we doing what we need to do, and how does AI fit into that, as opposed to being like, okay, here's the AI stuff. Because I think where the rubber meets the road is where people care. There's lots of talk about, various different things that people are upset with AI about, and most of those things are legitimate. And again, this is someone who has a patent in AI talking to you. And I think that's why I want to be more intentional about how I talk about AI, and just kind of talking about the latest sorts of things that are going on with AI. There's enough channels doing that. If you're interested in like the latest AI news, there's enough people doing that, and I don't think that's where my voice really is the most beneficial. I'm not a programmer. I'm very transparent. I'm not a programmer. I'm not an engineer. I am a social scientist, right? I'm PhD in psychology, separate bachelor's in economics, done lots of research as part of my, career and work. And that's, my zone. Even in terms of, how I kind of move out into my other parts of like work. I'm refocusing. I think, AI is not going anywhere. We all know this now. I mean, if anyone thought AI was going away last year, they know now that it's here to stay, right? So then the question again is, how are we living our lives in relationship to the technology more broadly, and not necessarily just AI? And so what I want to talk about on this channel is, well-being first and foremost. I think everything that is touching people the most centers on how we're doing. And I think that's also most in line with how, I'm thinking about other topics and other things, including on my other channel, the affirmation practice with me, Dr. Romella Janene. Where I do affirmation pulls, energy readings, positive messages for the collective. I think that, well-being is really kind of like the focus of where, people need to be centered on. It affects, our health care. It impacts our daily living through, the environment, climate, all aspects of the environment, not just climate. So I think, there are different things that I will be touching on as they come up. And really from a well-being perspective first, keeping in mind that you're going to hear about, the economy. You're going to hear about, my view as an industrial organizational psychologist. You're going to hear that. You're going to hear about AI as it's relevant because of, what I know about AI and my other, things that I'm involved in, including internet governance. So these are things like, to expect. But, there's other things that I am interested in, and one of the things that I really want to do is present, the importance of being well-rounded as a part of being, on a well-being, journey, or just not even a journey, because I don't want, journeys end, right? a well-being way of being. A well-being way of being. That's a mouthful, a tongue twister. Excuse me, but I think that's accurate, and I just jostled the camera, so sorry about that. Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of like the gist of all of this, is what, was AI focused first really is not what you're going to get here. The other videos are going to stay up. But I think just in general, when you come to the channel, you see a whole range of my throat chakra activation. You see sort of like a full range of other things that I've done in the past. And those things are there because it gives you, more insights into me and what I'm talking about now. And so I do invite you to look at the other playlists, check out Culture Now, check out Adult Storytime for Professionals before people were using the word storytime. Yeah. Before Storytime went pop, I used that phrase as a title. So, and that's just kind of like, it sounds egotistical, but that's the timeline. I was talking about story time before anybody else was talking about the story time. And, so you may hear some ideas here that are like maybe ahead of where most people are. You don't get a patent in AI if you're bringing up the rear on AI. You were thinking ahead. And so you may, hear some things that seem a little novel, a little, hell, maybe even out there. But, it is what it is. And I just want you to have an understanding, of what to expect. So hopefully, you will appreciate generally positive messages, or at the very least insightful. And this is what I'll be doing. So, part of well-being is understanding, like I said, our broader environment, not just climate. So, the environment includes the political environment. It includes the economic environment. All of these things are relevant. So with that, I just want to really thank you for watching. So anyway, if this was your first time here, we're doing a rebrand, so a refocusing, I should say rebrand, because it's still me. We're doing a refocusing, and, I want to thank you for watching, and if you think it's going to be interesting going forward, you stuck around to the end, and you liked what you heard, thank you for liking, thank you for dropping a comment, thank you for subscribing, and if you really, really liked it, thank you for sharing. And with that, until my next story time, take care. Bye.